First, let's bring in my panel, Deputy Executive Director at the IPA, Daniel Wild, an LNP Senator and just been promoted to James McGrath, but I'll get to that in a moment. Let's go to the report today from the IPA. Federal government spending on climate change and net zero policies has ballooned to $9 billion a year. This is work done by the new chief economist at the IPA, Adam Crichton. Now, just a decade ago, that number, I won't say only, but that number was $600 million. In the first term of the Albanese government, there was a 400% increase in all of this funding. When Scott Morrison left office in 2022, that last budget had the spending at $1.7 billion. And I tell you what, Daniel, what are we even getting for this money?
Well, what we're getting is a weakened economy, a divided society, and a compromised national security environment. And the point here, Peter, is this is just subsidies going directly to renewables generation. It doesn't count the subsidies going to consumers to pay the massive bills. And now we're in this ridiculous situation where we've got governments subsidising the construction of wind and solar, governments subsidising consumers' bills because wind and solar put up prices, and governments, including in New South Wales and Victoria, also subsidising coal-fired power stations to stay open because it turns out wind and solar aren't good at keeping the lights on either. Much better just to get rid of the subsidies, get rid of net zero and have an energy system based on what we used to have, which was coal-fired power underpinning the grid, which is 24/7, rain, hail or shine. It's just common sense, and this splurge on net zero has just got to stop.
I've just been talking to Greg Sheridan, very depressing about the rise of China and perhaps having to need combat forces in Australia. I reckon the only time we'll wake up to loving coal again and gas again is when China invades us and, of course, they build their power stations here. I tell you what, it's just a shocker. James, your new capacity as Shadow Special Minister of State means I'm going to ask you about Bradfield, a very tight result there. Giselle Kaptarian's released a statement, 27 votes in it. She says she will now review the two counts. I suspect this means the party will end up in court. But I tell you what, 27 votes in it, this just highlights, doesn't it, that we must have photo ID in order to vote.
Totally, Peter. We must have photo ID to make sure that those who are able to vote are legally able to vote, and it stops voter fraud. There are always instances of people turning up and pretending to be someone else. And most Australians expect to be asked to provide some form of ID when they go to vote. Now, we tried to push this through Parliament when we were in power, and Labor and the Greens, well, surprise, opposed it. And we didn't even ask for photo ID. We said you could use, Mr Albanese's Medicare card. You could use that to show who you were. But Labor and the Greens said no. Well, we wonder why. I don't want to second guess what the New South Wales Liberal Party are going to do, but I wouldn't be surprised if this ended up in the Court of Disputed Returns, which sits as the High Court.
All right, well, we'll watch that one closely. Let's go to Victoria. Secret documents revealing today that Daniel Andrews approved $6.5 million to support the yes vote in the referendum. These are documents that the Herald Sun's obtained under Freedom of Information laws. The government says, well, don't worry, we didn't actually spend the money. The approval came through 3 weeks before the vote. But I tell you what, that's not the point, Daniel.
Well, that's right. I think it's breathtaking arrogance. But it also, I think, reinforces what an incredible win it was for mainstream Australians. The massive funding from governments, whether in Victoria or at the federal level, the millions and millions of dollars put in by these big woke corporations and the support from civil society and elsewhere. And the fact that mainstream Australians saw through all of that, they understood the critical nature of the vote. They voted no to the voice in large numbers, including in Victoria. A strong majority voted no. I think shows what a significant refutation of the political elite and establishment that vote was. And I was very disappointed that at the 2025 federal election, the coalition didn't talk about it at all until Penny Wong belled the cat and said that Labor's going to put in the voice anyway.
Let's go back to Queensland. I was talking at the top of the show about that decision today in the Court of Appeal, James, where I won't say they're young people, they are youths, they are late teens who participated in a home invasion, that they will not have a conviction recorded against their name. You've also had another shocker up there, that reforms to the magistrates' courts could soon allow accused criminals to appear by Zoom. I mean, give me a break.
Well, I looked into this just to make sure, because I know that the David Crisafulli government is probably the strongest government in Australia when it comes to being on the sides of victims of crime and making sure through
yes, we would agree with that.
Adult time and what this is. It's not even an exposure of a draft bill. I'd encourage people watching this program that when the draft bill is put out for exposure and for comment, people to put submissions in. But people at the moment can already appear via video link, both victims of crime and the accused. I'm with you, Peter. I think if someone has been accused of a crime, they should be in the courthouse and they should be standing up there and understand how the wheels of justice operate. But I need people in Queensland to make sure when this draft bill comes out in the coming months that they do put their submissions, because I know that Deb Frecklinton, the Attorney-General, who's a former solicitor from Kingaroy, and that Dan Purdy, the Police Minister, a former police officer, they are on the sides of victims of crime and they do not want the accused getting a free run here.
All right, we will watch that one. Dan, you once lived in Victoria. I know you've been in and around the Victorian Liberal Party. There's a war there at the moment. This is about a plan that will go to the admin committee. This is the sort of the executive body of the Liberal Party next Thursday, I am told. It's a proposal for the party to pay John Pizzuto's $2.3 million debt. Jeff Kennett wants it paid. Others in the party say, over my dead body. He lost the case. As a lawyer going into the case, he should have been prepared to stump up should he have this result. He owns a home, I'm told, in Hawthorne. He could go to the bank like the rest of us and get a loan and pay it back. But I tell you what, it's not good, is it, Dan?
Well, it's not. And, you've led the debate on this in many ways about the treatment of Moira Deeming from the start. Look, I don't think that the Liberal Party itself should be providing the funds. If individuals want to support John Pizzuto, of course, they're more than welcome to do that. But the fundamental problem here was that the Liberal Party forgot its values. We should believe in freedom of speech and in common sense, and that men are men and women are women, and that biological men should not be able to go into women's spaces, which is essentially what Moira was saying. Now, we know from court documents that one of the reasons why the leadership of the Liberal Party decided to treat Moira the way that they did was because they were intimidated by Daniel Andrews and the Labor Party. And sadly, and I feel for John on a personal basis, and I sympathise with John Pizzuto on a personal basis, but sadly, this is what happens when you take your cues from your political opponents.
Yeah, I think a lot of decent Liberals would have the same view about John. They would hope that he can pay the debt and remain in the parliament, but they are violently opposed to the party tipping in when the party's already, had a shocking result federally and has got a fight to get rid of a bad government come next November. Gents, thank you. Thank you very much. See you next week.